Hello and welcome to the video. This video is a first look and my thoughts on this thing here. This is from BetaFPV. The clue is on the fact they put the name on the box, but it's actually an all-in-one kit with a little Whoop style quadcopter. It's got a little radio and a set of goggles in here as well. So basically everything you need, just add practice and a little bit of skill, is in here to fly. Now, BetaFPV is one of those manufacturers that I'm starting to watch a lot more closely. They seem to be one of those manufacturers that understand a little bit about the hobby. The recent thing that I reviewed was this thing here. This is the BetaFPV Insta360 SMO 4K camera. It sits on front of this little quadcopter and I love it. It comes pre-skeletonized, if that's even a word, and you have the little application where you can apply all of the stabilization and the field of view and everything in post. And that gives you a lot of choice. You can just go out and get the footage and then you can tweak it when you get home, including things like the bit rate. So BetaFPV seem to actually care about the hobby and designing products for the hobby. So when this thing came out, this thing called the Cetus kit, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, I thought that's really interesting. Let me get one in and have a try. Because there have been other kits like this from other manufacturers. So with somebody who actually gets what the hobby is all about, I guess the clue is the fact they got FPV in the name, let me go through what it's like and talk about what I've found. So while I unbox it, let me talk a little bit about the pieces and who I think it's aimed at. Now, at the time of making this video, I'm making it before the official release on the 8th of May, so I haven't seen the final pricing, and hopefully it's going to be at a low enough level that will make this kit a little bit of a no-brainer. Because the technology in here is actually really nice. They've really thought about it. This isn't just a Betaflight powered Whoop with a basic set of goggles and a cheap and cheerful radio. There's extra things in here that I didn't expect. And the more I've played with it, the more I've realized that this is a really nice way for somebody to get into the hobby that doesn't have any of the technology already, the goggles, the radio, or the charger, or any of those bits and pieces. But the way that the quadcopter is set up as well makes it incredibly easy to fly, because underneath this little Whoop style quadcopter that's in the box, we have an optical flow sensor, and that allows it to just sit in the air and kind of stay in one position when you take your hands off the sticks. Incredibly useful when you're learning to fly. Along with the little 1S Whoop that's inside the box, there is the BetaFPV Light Radio 2SE remote control. It has just enough switches to fly this thing with. There's actually one spare on this current remote control. It's bound to the little quadcopter, and the way it's set up is that you have 3 flight modes, and you also have 3 speed modes, as well as some other little tricks up its sleeve too. The goggles have no external antennas, just like the little quadcopter, and it has a display of 800 by 480 pixels. It's nice and bright and clear and easy to use. I have quite a bit of light leak around the nose area, but you could put a bit of foam in there. There isn't any foam included. The rest of it's a reasonable fit. The only disappointing thing is there isn't enough space inside here for a pair of spectacles, so if you need sight correction, then unfortunately these are a little bit too small to support that. In addition to the quad, the radio and the goggles, there's also a couple of handy bits in here as well. You get a couple of batteries and you get a cute little battery charger along with all the cables you're going to need. The battery charger is pretty quick too. It's going to charge the batteries up in about 15-20 minutes, and it also acts as a little battery checker, so you can plug your batteries in to find out what the voltage is. When it's fully charged, that's going to be at 4.35 volts. When it's completely discharged, it's going to be about 3.6, 3.5 volts. But of course the really nice thing is that it all comes in this beautiful little case with a space for everything. So it will keep it all safe, and also if you want to take it somewhere to fly somewhere else, you've got a safe, convenient way to carry all the parts. Now normally at this part I plug it into Betaflight to show you how the Betaflight setup is done. And I was particularly interested in that because of things like the optical flow that's on here. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, for a kit like this that's aimed at someone who's new into the hobby, there isn't a USB port. So I haven't been able to get into it to have a look at how they've actually got it working in the way that they have and what software they've got on here. In the on-screen display, the flight mode is displayed in the lower right-hand corner for the flight screen. The corresponding flight mode of the quadcopter is shown as well, and you can choose the different flight modes and the different sensitivities and speeds for the environment that you want to fly on. The 3 flight modes are normal mode, so when the quadcopter rises, if you just let go of the 2 joysticks, it'll just remain in a fixed point. Really handy. That's called normal mode and shown as N mode in the screen. That is amazing if you're learning to hover. It's almost too easy. Then you have sport mode, which is more like angle mode or something like that on other quadcopters running a regular beta flight, so it will self-level. And then there's full manual mode, which is like acro mode, which are for those pilots that really want to push the capabilities of this little quadcopter. But it's when you're in normal mode in the lower speed settings that this is absolutely fantastic. The way it's using the optical flow is very clever, and it's very easy to fly. There's only one weird thing that I've had occasionally, and that is now and again it will kind of get a runaway and shoot forward much faster than you can do it on the controls in the low speed setting. And I don't know whether that's something with the optical flow. I have asked BetaFPV to have a look at that. It might just be my review kit that has that kind of weirdness on it. So in summary, I've been impressed with this BetaFPV kit. I wasn't sure what to expect. All the pieces in the kit feel really nice quality. The plastics in particular feel really good. The radio, other kits that I've had of this type have that kind of hard plastic. The radio in here is actually really nice. I love the carry case. I love the idea that everything fits in here. It's all safely stored away so that you can keep it out of the way of the dog so that it won't eat the quadcopter. And you've got a nice way to transport it if you want to try and fly somewhere else and keep everything safe. You will need more batteries. I'm only getting about 3.5 minutes out of each of the batteries flying around here, and with the 2 batteries then you've got to wait another 20-25 minutes for the batteries to be charged and then to be back flying. So if you are looking to get one of these, my advice would be invest in at least another couple of batteries to make sure that you can keep flying. Now I know for many pilots the fact that this is a brushed whoop will be a disappointment, but it appears that they've put the effort into making sure that this is super easy to fly. And the brush motors, although they will wear out, are very simple and easy to replace with the plugs that are built into the model. It's more stable and easier to fly than any other 1S whoop that I've tried in normal mode in the low speed. It is perfect for somebody who's never flown before to have their first flight without it disappearing behind the television. Again, the radio feels much nicer than I expected it to. The plastics are much higher quality than I thought they were going to be. The gimbals are okay and respond nicely, and unfortunately the switches and their positions are set, and they're in a different layout than they are on my big full-size radios of other things that I fly. But with a couple of minutes flying and a quick check of the manual, you'll figure out how it all works. To get to the lower price point, there are usually corners cut, and the goggles in this kit is probably the least impressive part. They work really well, and they have an auto scan function. The little menu inside works very well. The image is very clear. It's just the fact that they haven't thought about making sure that anybody with spectacles. So if you can see things reasonably close up, then you won't have an issue with this. I need sight correction of 1.5 in both my eyes now as I'm getting older to read things close up. And for me, I can't quite focus on the image cleanly. There is light leak around the nose area, and there isn't any DVR on here or output for you to record the flying footage. Now, there is a lot of choice for the pilots who this is aimed at. So people who have never flown before, who have none of the kit, have seen things on places like YouTube and social media and want to try flying a drone. And everything comes in the kit, so you literally don't have to buy anything else. You don't even have to buy any AA batteries. You charge everything using a USB cable. And for that, it's very good. Bit of a shame that there is only a brushed version of this little quadcopter. Other manufacturers of these kind of kits, people like Emax, are not putting as much effort into making the model super easy to fly with things like the optical flow sensor, but are using things like brushless motors, and that potentially gives you a little bit more power, and the motors are going to last a little bit longer as well. Also, having the ability to plug those things into Betaflight does also mean that as you progress and you get more comfortable with doing things with the computer, which, let's be honest, is pretty much part of the hobby if you get into multi-rotors, those other kits are more designed for that. But I'm guessing if you're a technophobe who doesn't care about any of that, who just wants the simplest little quadcopter that you can fly indoors, then this is going to tick the box. Let's hope that they hear all the feedback regarding the motor selection on the quad and make those tweaks if there's another version of this kit. Thank you for spending your time today watching that video. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you're trying to learn about a subject, then check out the playlist. All of my videos are organized into easy to follow playlists that, if you're trying to learn a topic, will take you from the basics right the way through to some pretty advanced stuff.